Um, and you asked about my own awakening, my own experience. Yeah. So this was about almost 30 years ago now. I was 24, and I had been for 24 years. I had been. Um, I wouldn't say I was a spiritual seeker because I really didn't think of myself in those terms. I didn't pursue spirituality as something I thought was going to get me somewhere. I just didn't have that kind of context at all. However, there was a deep yearning to, I'll say it in two ways that are sound paradoxical, but they're kind of the same thing. One is to see reality as it actually is, and the other side of that was to stop suffering. Uh, and at that time, I wouldn't have realized those are exactly the same thing. Now it's clear that they are. There was a yearning to understand, but even to go beyond actual intellectual understanding, to penetrate what these sages were talking about. Sages, I mean Lao Tse. I read the Tao Te Ching, couldn't make sense of it, but there was something in me that's like, there's got to be something here. Like I was fascinated, but endlessly frustrated trying to read. I couldn't make sense of one sentence of it. Reading about Buddhism or learning about Buddhism, I was like, there's something here, the enlightenment thing, but it just didn't seem like it was for me, or it didn't seem like it applied to me. It was something sages have, or monks, or people in the past. I didn't know, but it didn't feel personally relevant. Um, Christianity, Christ, like there's something there, but all of the trappings of modern religion were just very obvious to me. It was like, that's just more suffering. Like I don't want to go into that.
Right.
So yeah, it was just, I felt like kind of anywhere I looked and anywhere I turned, as far as the people and institutions that were available to me, they didn't seem to offer true transformation. They didn't seem to offer deliverance, so to speak. And so not in a way that resonated. I never felt it like as an alive transmission until I did. And when I did, it was because of a very personal thing. And so I want to be clear about this. Tragedy, disruption, often, not that you go looking for it, but it's often the gateway for people. It's something opens often. It doesn't have to be through tragedy, but for me, it was a loss. Like it was a personal loss that happened, and there was a very personal dimension to that, a very deep sadness that occurred. But there was also a disappointment in that. Oh, that was supposed to be the thing that was going to make me happy, and when that rug was pulled, it's like, oh, there's nothing left, right? There's nothing left, at least in the conventional way I had learned to think about life, that was supposed to finally make me happy. I kind of realized none of it's going to do that. None of the ways I'm thinking about life, none of the achievements I think I can get, and so forth, are really going to do it for me. And that came with a simultaneous, really deep kind of despair, and this other part of that, this critical. This is like the formula, is a kind of wonder. And this wonder wasn't a personal wonder. It was beyond the personal. It was rather transpersonal, but it wasn't distant either. It was right here. It was childlike. It was innocent. And it was also really mysterious. Like I knew I couldn't get a handle on it. I wasn't going, oh, let me capture this wonder, put it in a jar, and carry it with me to make my dreams come true. It wasn't that. It was penetrating through me like light. So there was this very interesting combination of despair and wonder. And as it tends to happen, the universe drops something right in your lap, or it shows you the thing you need, the catalytic tool, whatever it is. It could be anything. It can be a talk like this that you hear and suddenly it illuminates in a different way than it had before. It can be a book. It can be whatever, a meditation retreat. For me, it was a book. Picked up a book called The Three Pillars of Zen, and I started reading these chapters that were referring to a process that these monks and actually lay people were going through in a Zen monastery in Japan in the 1960s. But it was a very interesting passage in that there was someone literally transcribing an interaction between a Zen teacher and the students in Dokusan, which is usually a private, away from the group, and very intuitive. It's not an instruction teaching. It's an intuitive dance, and the whole idea is to get this thing called kensho, awakening. And that was the first time any kind of form of, or any form of enlightenment, awakening, whatever, resonated with me as something I felt. Like I knew what they were talking about. Before I didn't know what enlightenment was. I didn't know what it was. It just didn't seem like something about me. This was not just something about me. It was something about me before I knew I was a me. It was so personal. And it was directly addressing the combination of wonder and despair. it was all of the same thing. It felt, it had this sort of holistic, synergistic quality. The whole experience did. The loss, my life, going to work, coming home, meditating, and then this book, and whatever the heck was going on in here and in my heart, like all of it was really starting to move on its own. And this is the first time in my life that I felt like, okay, I can trust something that is truly beyond me. And I don't mean a concept that's beyond me. I don't mean a paradigm that's beyond me, like God or Jesus or Buddha, or I mean this thing that is literally carrying me into the unknown right now. And it was sublime, would be a word for it. It was scary at times. I'm not going to lie, but there was even alignment in the fear. It was like, I know this is where I have to go. Um,
Angela,
that's what sort of, go ahead.
was there a dropping away of a sense of personal self?
Not yet. Not yet. So this part I'm talking about was like leading up to it. When the first shift happened,
I want to give a
it
thank
was
you to a guest who just left the super chat. I'm sorry.
right
Um,
on.
thank you
Yeah.
so much, Kamari. I appreciate that, my friend.
Hello, Kamari. So yeah, the first shift that happened as a culmination of what I was just talking about, and it was the whole thing I was talking about, the synergistic thing that I finally just let go into. That was the shift. Like the letting go was the shift. It allowed the shift to happen. I didn't make the shift happen. It was way beyond me. But the letting go was the final straw, so to speak. It was, finally just going, okay, I give up trying to manage this whole thing myself. I will really give it up to something beyond me. And what was beyond me was everywhere around me. It was very obvious. So that shift didn't lead to the sense of self dropping away. It did lead to a vast alteration in the sense of self, no doubt about it. Something like what the Hindus might call the self with a capital S, or the sort of Atman coming in contact with the Brahman and realizing they are actually the same, something like that. But I didn't have any of those concepts. I didn't care about concepts. It wasn't conceptual. It was full on instinctual, felt, lived experience. So I might describe it better as saying, instead of trying to make a paradigm at the time, I wasn't going, what changed about me? Or I damn well knew something changed, but I wasn't concerned about tracking. Excuse me, I wasn't concerned about tracking it. I was more interested in the quality of letting go that just kept going. I was fascinated that, oh my God, I don't have to struggle against life. I don't have to struggle against myself. I was fascinated with the fact that I didn't even realize how much I was struggling before this. I had no idea how much weight I was carrying. I knew I was suffering, but I didn't know how much. I also didn't know how much relief was available. And it was just everywhere. It was all relief. But I want to be clear, especially bringing it back around to the very good way you started this, the very insightful way you started this conversation is I didn't feel special and I didn't feel distant. Neither of those registered. I didn't feel separate. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm special and those people aren't awake, or there was nothing like that. It was just like, this is all oceanic flow and everyone's part of it. There's no other people. It wasn't even a concern about self and other. So I wasn't thinking in those terms. And so if I were to look back now and label it, I would say what I was experiencing was oceanic consciousness. But it wasn't an experience. It was a realization that oceanic consciousness is the nature of experience as I could possibly know it as a self. So
Right.
it was kind of a like this little guy that was formed out of some kind of apparent solid material floating around this vast ocean of loneliness, suddenly melting in the ocean, and there was no loneliness because it was just the ocean. So it was just an oceanic experience of flow, peace, and just wonder. It was just like ongoing. How is this possible? And yet, of course, this has always been like this. There was a deep instinct that I've always known this, of course, but not intellectually. So there was a big change in the way I processed my own experience through thought, meaning I stopped processing my experience through thought largely. There wasn't there wasn't a need to use thought as a lens to know what I am, what I'm not, where I'm going. It was like I was just like so done with that. And all of a sudden it was life just flowing. And I wasn't having to sit on a mountainside in a monastery and meditate either. It was there all the time, whether I was working or sitting or meditating. And meditation became incredibly blissful, more than it ever had. But many things did. So it was pretty remarkable. So that was the first shift.